What's up, everybody? Are you overwhelmed by the never-ending supply of depressing bad news? Well, let's refuel our tanks with 7 recent positive stories. This is Giddy News for the month of November 2019. 30-year-old man with special needs has his first birthday party thanks to former teacher who took him in, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Caitlin O'Kane with CBS News, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. About 2 months ago, a man with special needs was found walking along a Waco, Texas highway. His name is Chris Barrington, and he has the functionality of a 6-year-old. When his dad with leukemia couldn't care for him anymore, Chris went out alone and wandered for 2 days. When the sheriff's department picked him up, he remembered only one name: Mrs. Gerard. Michelle Gerard was Barrington's junior high school teacher, but she hadn't seen him in ages. However, when the department called her, she was happy to take Barrington in. Gerard says Barrington hasn't experienced much. He's never had a birthday present, a birthday party, he's never had Christmas, Thanksgiving, nothing, she said. So this year is going to be full of firsts. One of those firsts was his first birthday party. Gerard threw him a surprise party for his 30th birthday. Gerard is now working on making her former student a permanent part of her family. His father died August 1st, and she is now applying for legal guardianship. He's had a hard life, Gerard said. He deserves a good life. Ethiopia says it planted over 350 million trees in a day, a record, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Palko Koraz of the New York Times, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed got his hands dirty recently, along with students, farmers, urban professionals, foreign dignitaries, environmentalists, and other government officials who all got together to plant millions of seedlings, the largest one-day tree planting effort in history. It was all part of Mr. Ahmed's campaign to plant 4 billion trees in Ethiopia before fall to combat deforestation and global warming. In the early 20th century, about 1/3 of Ethiopia was covered in forest, but that had dropped to just 4% by 2000. Many schools and government offices were closed for the day as students and civil servants were urged to take part in the program. The aim was to put at least 200 million seedlings in the ground a day, and by day's end, government officials said that more than 350 million had been planted. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon actor plans to give his $700 million fortune to charity, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Fino Menendez of Good, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. Living a simple and happy life, Chow Yun-fat plans to give his $700 million fortune to charity. Chow grew up in a farming community on Lamma Island, Hong Kong, in a house with no electricity. He would wake at dawn each morning to help his mother sell herbal jelly and aka tea pudding. In the afternoons, he went to work in the fields. At 17, he left school to help support his family by doing odd jobs including bellboy, postman, camera salesman, and taxi driver. His life started to change after college when he responded to a newspaper advertisement, and his actor trainee application was accepted by a local television station. He's now been active in the movie industry for over 4 decades. On his reason for giving away his fortune, Chow smiled and said, "The money's not mine. I'm only keeping it safe for the time being." This med student was given last rites before finding a treatment that saved his life. His method could help millions, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Ryan Pryor of CNN, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. It was just after Christmas in 2013, and David Feigenbaum was hovering a hair above death while battling Cattlemen Disease, a rare autoimmune disorder partly like cancer. But he survived, and he learned enough to surprise his doctors by coming up with a way to treat his disease. After examining his medical charts, he zeroed in on an idea that researchers hadn't yet explored. A protein called VEGF was spiking 10 times its normal level, and an existing drug could address that. As he put it, a drug that could potentially save my life was hiding in plain sight. So far, it's working. Almost 6 years later, he's in remission, he and his wife have a baby girl, and he's devoting his medical career to saving other patients just like him. As Feigenbaum says, you learn a lot by almost dying. Tokyo 2020 Olympic medals made from 80,000 tons of recycled mobile phones and other electronics, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Jay Cannon with the USA Today, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. The 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo are less than a year away, and the medals are almost ready. After a 2-year donation drive, Tokyo 2020 announced that 100% of the metals used to make the shiny awards will be extracted from materials found in donated electronics and phones. The nearly 158 million pounds of donated electronics was reduced down to approximately 71 pounds of gold, 7,700 pounds of silver, and 4,850 pounds of bronze. Following a process of dismantling, extracting, and refining, the metals will be fused into the brainchild of Olympic medal designer Junichi Kawanishi, who was granted the design opportunity after winning a competition held by Tokyo 2020. Project organizers hope the nationwide electronics drive will help establish a theme of resourcefulness for the Tokyo Games. The organization's website reads, "We hope that our project to recycle small consumer electronics and our efforts to contribute to an environmentally friendly and sustainable society will become a legacy of the Tokyo 2020 Games." Only 29 of 1,338 Indian silent films have survived, but one man is doggedly telling the story of the era, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Nandini Ramnath of Scroll, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. Who knows what's out there, says 85-year-old Vershan Dharamsi, writer of the authoritative filmography of Indian silent film between 1895 and the 1930s. For the past few years, the Mumbai-based researcher has been writing a book tentatively titled Archaeology of Early Indian Cinema. Over 1,300 silent movies were made in India in the first 3 decades of the last century, but only 29 of these silent films survive. By the time Dharamsi started compiling his filmography in the early 80s, he had already been working on research projects for historians, anthropologists, and archaeologists. The quest for a clearer picture on the silent era appears to have been an extension of his curiosity about the past. Dharamsi noted that the tools of archaeology also apply to cinema, stating, "It's about how and where to dig." In the Brazilian Amazon, old enemies unite to save their land, is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of João Fele of BBC News, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. While the world's attention has been focused on the fires raging in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, indigenous people living there have warned that the policies of President Bolsonaro pose a bigger threat to their existence. Rival groups such as the Kaiopo and the Panara have come together to fight the government's plan for the region that is their home. The two groups were at war for decades, raiding each other's villages in tit-for-tat attacks, but the two sides have now overcome their animosity for a greater goal. Kaiopo leader Mujari explained, "Today we have only one enemy, the government of Brazil, the president of Brazil, and those invading." More than 800,000 indigenous people live in demarcated indigenous territories across Brazil. The president, who took office in January, has repeatedly questioned whether these territories, which are enshrined in Brazil's constitution, should continue to exist. "We won't repeat the past," Kaiopo leader Katkuri stated. "From now on, we'll be united." All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the Giddy News. And if you have a positive news story that you'd like for me to share, please include a link in the comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching.